What is up, all you lovely, lovely people? It is the last Thursday of the month, which means that it is time for yet another community watch party for the Pantheon developer stream. Now, this one is going to be a little bit different, which is kind of exciting because I don't really know how it's going to go, but I know it's going to be fun. So normally the developers will come on, they'll kind of talk about what what they've been working on lately, and this month is going to be a little different because they in fact are so busy working on pre-alpha 5 that they don't really have time to do a live show, so they've pre-recorded something for us and we are going to watch it here together and discuss it. And the reason that they're so busy, for those of you who have been not paying attention to Pantheon lately, the pre-alpha 5 Shakeout is coming up September 5th and 6th, so right around the corner. And the pre-alpha 5 Shakeout is a weekend where all the pre-alpha testers are gonna jump back into the game after a long time away. Devs have been working on a huge update over the past year and a half or so, and now that it's time for the testers to go back in and do what they call the shakeout, which is working out all of the big game breaking bugs and server stability, things like that. Really just focused on the technical aspects of that. Then once they get those big issues out of the way, then at a later date everybody can come back in and do more more like organic playtesting, I guess, where it's more focused on like class balance and combat and all those other sorts of things. So tonight, according to the announcement that the devs made, we'll be kind of getting a little bit of a preview of that, what that will be like. So it'll be very interesting. I have no idea what we're gonna see or really how it's gonna go, but it will be awesome. So Alicera just raided with a party of 24. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the party. For this very special occasion, as some of you have noticed already, I am wearing my new logo shirt. It literally just came in the mail this afternoon. For those of you who don't know, just recently revamped the channel art on my for my channel, and of course that means that all the old merch went away, all the new merch came in, and so now we're rocking the new merch, and it is super comfy. Hey guys, super excited that you guys have chosen to hang out with me here tonight. Like I said, I have no idea what we're gonna see, but it should spur some interesting discussion, and it looks like they have just gone live, probably with their countdown. We're still about 5 minutes out, it looks like. But yeah, this is definitely exciting times. It seems like spirits in the community are pretty high overall. Obviously, pre-alpha 5 is something that we've been looking forward to for a long time now, and it has finally come. It's finally come. Colin says, Baz, when will we be able to cheer on this channel? I think that comes with being an affiliate, which I am not yet, simply because I don't stream very often. Now, when I do stream, I'm very blessed to have plenty of people that choose to hang out with me. But really, I think the only hurdle is just the sheer amount of hours that I need to stream, which once things really get going with Pantheon content, that should be no problem. Definitely am planning on streaming as much as I can when the time comes. It's just, as of right now, the devs will do this monthly developer stream that they do, which I'm always here hanging out for. But in between that, just the where the game is at right now, it can be a little tricky to come up with enough things to stream in the meantime. Now, I want to, for the time being, I want to just keep this channel completely focused on Pantheon, so that when you show up, to my channel, you know what to expect. And Pantheon is just the game that has my attention right now, and so I wanna keep, for the time being, keep this channel completely focused on Pantheon. And so it seems like with the stage that the game is at right now, it seems to facilitate YouTube videos a little easier, at least for me and my style. So that's just where we're at right now, but definitely expect, like, once NDA gets lifted, or at least relaxed, and I can jump in and either stream the gameplay more, or there's just more things to discuss, then I'll definitely be ramping up my streaming schedule significantly. But in the meantime, I always just it's just sheer joy just being able to hang out with you guys, talk about what we're seeing with you. I'm not like in a super rush to hit affiliate or anything like that just for the sake of doing it. Huising, I think I'm pronouncing that correct. Huising says, out of curiosity, what classes you potentially eyeballing to main? It's a good question, because I am pretty undecided as of right now. I have it narrowed down. I think right now, most likely is actually Paladin, with Cleric being a very close second. It's gonna really come down to probably in like alpha, when I can test them more in the in a real in-game setting, to see which one I like more. Although I will say that the Enchanter is also pretty intriguing to me, and the reason I've honed in on those 3 classes is because I know I'm going to play a Dwarf. That is for sure, and Dwarves don't really have that many classes available to them, but fortunately most of them that are interesting to me. And I think the Dwarf Enchanter, because it just seems a little unconventional, it's just intriguing to me. I'm probably not going to main it. I'll probably try it out at some point, but for a main, it's definitely going to be either a Cleric or a Paladin, but time will tell. I'm hearing sweet, sweet Pantheon music in my ears, so we're going to switch over. Oh, hue, like the color hue. Huesing. Got it. I will keep that in mind. All right, let's jump over.
And welcome to another episode of the developer stream for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. I am one of your hosts, Ben McHale-Dean, producer of the game. And with me, as always, is Dave Ronixflau, our senior content creator.
Hey, everybody.
And joining us from the Great Divide is Chris Joppa Perkins, our creative director.
Hey, everyone. Excited? Let's get this rolling.
Let's get it rolling indeed. So today, as we were teasing earlier, we are going to show you actual in-game footage of Pre-Alpha 5 Shakeout, which is happening September 5th and 6th, which is, by my records, next weekend. So if you're interested in getting into Pre-Alpha 5 Shakeout, there still is time. Head on over to PantheonMMO.com, hit that pledge button, and check out the pledges that include Pre-Alpha access. So without further ado, here is our new login screen. Check out the fancy art. It's looking good. It's looking smart. Dave, you want to go ahead and log in? Let's get this show rolling.
I just broadcasted your all asterisk password to the world, David.
Ooh. It's really secure.
It's also the combination to get into my house too. So.
Mm.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, look at that.
Shift 8. Okay, so let's create a new character.
Whoa, that is a
Do
gnome?
that.
That's new. Looks like an alien.
Name him Ronick. I should name him George.
Well, we're like really starting from level 1 here.
Okay. So I'm going to be a human shaman.
Yep. I don't consider myself able to give formal legal advice on attribute, how you spend your attribute points. But what I could suggest is throwing a point into Constitution, a point into Stamina, and a couple points into Wisdom, perhaps. We can talk later in the stream about kind of what those things do. It's not the only 3 stats that Shaman need and benefit from, but it's a good place to start.
I would just do Strength and Intelligence, but that's just me.
All right.
Actually, Intelligence is very helpful. Intelligence for a priest class, Wisdom is going to govern your spell power and your mana pool. Intelligence is going to govern your critical chance with spells, and vice versa. For a caster, Intelligence is going to govern your spell power, mana pool, and Wisdom will govern your critical chance with spells.
I say something tongue-in-cheek. It turns out to be a real thing. This is cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
I just want to get in game. Can I get in game?
Yes.
Okay. Thank
Nobody is
Nobody's
more excited than I for you to get into the game.
you. Okay. Excellent. Ooh,
Oh, we got loading screens and everything.
I love the updates that we've done with the artwork, with the loading screens, even the progress bar. I know not everybody has seen that stuff before. There are streams out there that you'll be able to see the old stuff, but this new stuff just looks so much better. So,
I know how big of a fan you are of progress bars, Ben, so I knew that would really resonate with you.
So
Producers love progress bars.
Yeah.
here we are in game.
Here we are.
Very cool. So, David, the first thing that I and I'm sure many people do when they log in is not only take a look around and take things in, but why don't you go ahead and hit the I key, get your inventory open, and let's get your screen kind of laid out here well. Personally, I like having the inventory there on the left. You can drag your nameplate up or the inventory down. It's whatever you prefer. But so let's take a look at what we got here. We've got level 1 shaman. We're seeing your health, your mana, your endurance pool. We're seeing all the attributes. There to the right of the attributes, you'll see 4 buttons. Right now it's on the melee button. If you click the various buttons, you'll be able to cycle through the various stats. So your defense, your range, your spells. This gives you kind of an at-a-glance look at some of the highlighted and important statistical information you would want to get at a glance. Underneath that, you've got your resistances, and then your general inventory down below, with 10 open general inventory slots and then 5 slots for bags. Why don't you go ahead? It looks like you've got a spell there to start you off, and you can go ahead and right-click that and learn that spell.
This would be Mantle of Mist.
Yep, Mantle of Mist.
Okay.
Very cool. And then what you've done is you've scribed that spell now into your codex. So if you open your codex, you'll see Mantle of Mist there available, and you can right-click that. You see there it's an action ability, so you right-click it, it's going to go directly to the action bar, and it's now usable in combat. Very cool.
Let's see if it actually works. Oh, let me get rid of this. Oh. Okay. Yeah. There you go.
So, cool. Go for it. Ben and I are actually in the game too, so I'm watching your screen a little bit, but then I'm also in-game playing as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and start killing some stuff while you just kind of do your thing.
I wanted to bring this up. We are actually in, for people that have been following us for a while, we are actually in Throne Fast, which you probably don't recognize anymore. The reason being is, as we've talked about in the past too, is that we, the temporary Throne Fast is now a thing of the past, and we have finally moved forward into the gray boxing phase of the final Throne Fast.
Oh, I had no idea.
What you see here is probably something very, very different from what you're used to seeing. And again, keep in mind, this is the gray box, so
what the heck?
The end version will be much more prettified, but you'll be able to see a lot of where we're going during pre-alpha 5 shakeout.
I could have swore that
Cool.
they were
Well,
in Fairthale.
I'm gonna start talking to this Master Zavi, the Age Walker.
Oh, looks like Joppa dinged.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Level 2.
So you'll notice also I can kind of, I don't have to, CP, maybe you can touch upon this, I don't have to follow the quest exactly as she told me because I talked to her again and something else popped up here.
Yeah, so we talk a lot about how we want Pantheon to be an open world game, an open world experience, and we're going to come back to that again and again. Instancing versus not instancing is a really big piece of that, and that tends to be what the discussion centers around a lot. But it's also very much woven into the way the game is set up. For example, when you're oh, look at that.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. That's exciting. So you got a little pop up there giving you a little idea of what climbing is. So this actually goes perfectly what I was about to say. There's a lot of discussion. I had a tweet just a few days ago talking about the first 30 minutes of gameplay, and there's a lot of responses to that because it's a very important thing to consider. Why don't you? I'm going to talk for a second here, Dave, and you can just do some combat and just kind of, yeah. But there's a lot of really important things to consider in that question because the first 30 minutes of the game, oftentimes in kind of the modern selection of games that we have, MMOs, there's a very, very heavy emphasis put on kind of the new player experience. And the term handholding comes up quite a bit. And we've been talking through that internally quite a bit, as we've been approaching pre-alpha 5 and working heavily on Project Fairtail. And I think there's a really important distinction between orienting a player, and hand-holding them. And the distinction that I would make there is you want to orient new players because you want to give them the kind of knowledge and player agency to feel an ownership of the game, and they know what they need to do. They know how to do what they need to do. They know how to fight. They know how to progress. They understand how to interact with the various things in the game, be it NPCs, to talk to them, tasks, storylines, things that they might engage in. That's orientation, and that's good. Handholding, we would define that as more of a mentality where you want to ensure the success of the player in everything that they do. And that's kind of what we want to steer away from with Pantheon. We want you to be oriented. We want new players to feel like they understand how to play the game and what to do, but we don't want that feeling of this ever-present safety net where we as in the way we design the game are making sure that you succeed in every single thing that you do. There should be a chance for failure. There should be a chance for trial and error, so to speak. So yeah, in this case, we've talked to Master Zavi, and what David was saying earlier is that there's no quest that's been given. You're not working through a sequence of objectives here. We're just moving around the game world, talking to these NPCs, and she suggested we should talk to this Master Fallen, and that's really up to you if you choose to do so.
I choose to do so. Okay. I'm not going to read the quests. People can figure that out later for themselves. But essentially, I have to do some things and return to Master Zavi. I'm actually...
Yeah, so you've opened your eyes here at the Pool of Paths, and Master Zavi is just kind of welcoming you as a new shaman. And she sends you to Master Fallen because he's very contemplative in his relationship with these kind of mystical water here at the Pool of Paths. And so he's really just kind of furthering the identity of the shaman, in that there is a connection between all shamans because there's this very much a mastery of time and walking through time, and that whole premise of master shaman being able to exist in all ages at once kind of thing is really driving that home, that there's a relationship and a connectivity between all shaman, past, present, and future. So yeah, he suggests that you he suggests a couple of different things. Some of this we're glossing over because we want, knowing that PA5 Shakeout and beyond is so imminent, we want to save some stuff to be discovered by our testers and really experience for the first time. But if you do choose to come back to talk to Zavi, then you'll be able to close that loop a little bit. And it looks like I've received word that a skilled leather worker has recently moved to nearby Avalia. Encourage you to seek them out. Perhaps they can provide you with some upgrades, maybe to what you're wearing, because Terminus is a dangerous place. So
and
here's
you just don't look very stylish, Dave. I didn't want to say it, but Chris started down that path. Got to talk about what you're wearing.
That's very true. I'm disappointed.
Hey, at least I haven't died yet.
That's true. That's true.
Only
That's
fought
true.
one thing.
We're still very early though in the stream here, so let's keep it up. So what David was referring to earlier is that we're being careful and thoughtful about the kind of linear path that we put in front of players, because you have to think about things like, okay, you can edit that one piece out there, David. Heavy narrative is great, but heavy narrative also creates an ongoing kind of reliance on heavy narrative, because you're being conditioned as a player to rely on being told what to do and where to go. We'll talk about that primal essence here in a second.
I'm gonna take it for now.
Yeah. And so you're being told what to do and where to go, and refer to that as the Easter egg syndrome, because if you are going to hunt Easter eggs and you go out into the area where the eggs are and there's all these eggs everywhere, but there's like 5 golden eggs, then what are you going to do? You're going to focus on the golden eggs because okay, well, those are the ones with actually something significant and meaningful. I'm not going to worry about the hundreds of other eggs because these are golden for a reason, and I'm going to go for the golden eggs. We don't want to have golden eggs like that. We would much rather put the burden on the eggs in general, just the things that there are to find and discover, as being meaningful, and really leaving it for the player to determine what those things are. And it's also for a more practical reason where, when you're, 6 months into playing Pantheon and you've had a couple of characters, some alts maybe that you've spent time on, and you decide, I want to make a new shaman because I want to make a dwarf shaman this time around. If you know the ropes of Pantheon by that time, you shouldn't be forced to go through a quest line that forces you to unlock certain things in a certain order to be able to really get into the thick of things. And so we're designing these starting experiences to be deep, if there's a desire to go deep and really uncover the identity of your class and your race and the various things, but also designing them in a way where if you had just the leather worker, for example, that Zavi mentions, if you had just run off into the world, you would still be able to find that leather worker. You would still be able to make that connection and do those things. So how you doing, David?
I'm doing all right. Still alive. I'm just kind of killing some stuff as you talk. I'm guessing Avalia is this way, so I'm gonna try to head that way.
Why are you guessing Avalia is that way? Have you been there before?
I don't think there's much guessing involved.
It's just a hunch.
Okay.
Tearing down that fourth wall of illusion there.
I'm gonna thin some of these gray wolves out for you.
I see a McHale.
Oh, I didn't know you'd be here.
Oh, hello. What brings you to this area? Wait, all right. These guys look a little shady, and they're.
Oh, I got an umbral essence. Nice. Sorry.
They're level 6, so I'm gonna try. Well, the one's level 6, so I'm not gonna. I don't trust my prowess that much yet.
That's probably a good decision.
These wolves are aggro. So that's good. Yeah, they're just getting a little close. This is how I die a lot. I think it's important to remember that there are other things around other than the thing that you're killing.
Did you die?
No, I'm not dead yet.
Okay.
I know, shocking.
Well, actually, the shocking thing is.
Oh, do you want to talk about the essence? I had a shaman one, and now I just came across a dire lord one.
Yeah. So we are. I mean, we're still very much in a testing phase, and so it's an opportunity for us to try some different things. So whereas at some point in pre-alpha 5, we want to, introduce ability progression through coin, like being able to purchase abilities through vendors. We also want to test out some aspects of, you could call it like a kind of like a loose bartering kind of thing where, right now, if you get an umbral essence or a primal essence, you can actually take one of those to a shaman master or a dire lord master in that general kind of starting area and exchange those for abilities. And so it's an opportunity to see how some of that more barter type trading and barter type mentality goes, as opposed to just I'm going to loot things, sell things, buy things. We're going to bring that online once PA5 starts, and once we get to the phase of PA5 that we want to introduce that in all those systems. But this is kind of an interim experiment. It's going to be fun to try and get some data on.
I see a wild Joppa as we've arrived in Avelia.
I'm taking a look here.
So you notice if you kind of talk to the NPCs, he mentioned he knew I was a shaman. I said, "Wow, real, genuine, honest." How do you pronounce that? Arikaro? I could try that one.
No, that's not how you pronounce it.
No, not at all.
Osirico, thank you. I know there was no way I was getting that one right. And he mentioned I was a shaman. That's cool.
Yeah,
Song weaver. That sounds like a bard.
The NPCs are very intelligent, and they need to be, because when you're looking at a system like Perception, where it's built on that deep, matrix of flagging that takes into account the things you've done and who you are, and very, very large array of details that are tracked through these variables and flags. And the byproduct of that, and really what we've been able to do in developing the depth of that system, is it makes our NPC interactions very, very fresh and interesting. And so the testers will find, and you can see a little bit of it happening here, even just watching David's screen. But when we come into Avelia, your race, your class, it affects the kind of things that NPCs are going to say to you. And not only that, but you're going to notice there's a wide variety of things that NPCs actually say. In many cases, there's good reason to come back around many times and see the different things that NPCs will say, because there's a chance they'll say something. You almost think of it like, what might this NPC say today? What might this NPC say on this trip after I've done a little bit more in the zone? I'm going to come back and check things out and see. Okay.
What happened? You are not welcome in Avelia, John.
I guess that's the dire lord in me, I think.
Ah, interesting.
And these watchguard don't.
They're
doing their job well. I'll say that.
I guess some people are not happy with some of the design choices you've made.
Yeah, that is actually some of the subtext that was sent to me personally by the NPC.
I found the leather worker though.
Oh, nice, man.
Fix the shaman.
I want to see the walls.
Good day to you, shaman.
The throwing fast walls. Like, I'm trying to orient.
Oh, that's
like,
cool.
Where
So
the
he
heck?
knows my name is Ronik too.
Oh, nice. Yep. Now, see, that's a perfect example. If you and I'm going to do my best not to spoil too many things, but it's subtle, but it's meaningful. If you talk to Zavi and you take the time to talk with Zabi and do the things that she's encouraging you to do in those first few moments, then when you come talk to this leather worker, you're going to get, a little bit of a different kind of dialogue with this NPC. In some cases, it's small. Some cases, it's minor. But in some cases, it could be more significant in terms of, opening up more insight into the various NPCs and what's going on based on the kind of conversations you've had. And again, the point there is to really push deeply into the idea that Pantheon is an immersive and rich world. It's not a surface level thing. There really is meaning to considering the area and the denizens of the area and the different NPCs that are here and how you might interact with them and what they might say and what that might mean for you down the road. And by not going with the golden egg approach, it leaves the world much more ripe for that kind of natural exploration, that natural discovery that we value so much. It's very exciting. It's really fun to play because you're constantly carrying that sense of I can't wait to see what the next NPC I encounter is going to say and how it might relate to the things that I've done so far.
Well, the leather worker, after I spoke to her the first time, told me to come back, and I went back, and now he wants me to get some wolf pelts, and he said he'd make me some better armor. So.
Oh, nice.
But he said standard wolf pelts, so I'm guessing these low quality ones aren't gonna cut it. So I'm gonna just go ahead and keep decimating the wolf population of Terminus.
Sounds good. So
I don't think that sounds good at all. I think the wolves might have something to say about that.
I don't speak on behalf of the wolves, though. I'm trusting they're under control. I'm actually just kind of taking my chances here a little bit. I'm interested to see who else okay. Yep. There are still some people in Avelia that do not like me. Wow.
I have purged Joppa and his darkness from our lands. Wait, hold on, I better pay attention. I almost died.
Citizens of Thronefast, I have purged Joppa and his darkness from our lands. May the light always prevail. That is a paladin of Thronefast in Avelia, and he also does not seem to take.
Yeah, Airnalist. I was looking at that too.
That's
I think it might actually be red
This
flags,
highlights just a really important mechanic,
like
too,
waving in
that,
the wind.
The choice you make in character creation. What race am I going to be? What class am I going to be? And then when you set yourself into a world as immersive as we're describing in terms of this depth of NPC interaction and how intelligent NPCs are and how much recollection, quote unquote, they have based on what you've done and what your actions are a product of. We've talked about this a lot as it relates to perception, and as you can imagine, it has a very deep effect on perception and how the perception content is experienced, and it allows a keeper to dig even deeper in unfolding the fruit of all of that activity and the culmination of who your character is. But even for the common player who's not even engaging in the perception system, there still is a nice level of depth there in terms of what NPCs are saying and what they're thinking and why and how they're going to respond to you in different situations. Obviously, that a lot of that plays into the faction system as well. Me being a Dire Lord, it's understandable that the Paladins would have a problem with me, and as a Dire Lord, regardless of my race, the peaceful humans of Avelia, are either aggressive towards me or just afraid because of what a Dire Lord is. But even as an ogre, running into Avelia, you're going to get a lot of the same reaction, which is cool because even at this early stage of the game, the quest or the task that David's doing right now, a Dire Lord could not do. You didn't see it when I ran up to the leather worker, but when I try to go up to the leather worker, he just says, I have no intention of dealing with your kind. Dire Lord, get out of here. And so you're already seeing kind of that different kind of experience that starts playing out based on your decisions that character create.
So I got a new piece of gear. I traded in the leather, the wolf standard wolf pelt, and I got a wolf fur tunic, which I will. So I guess there's two ways I can equip this, right? I can either
you can drag and drop it, or you can just right click. Yep.
Or I can just drag and drop it. Okay.
Yeah. Now, if you go to your defense tab there, you'll see. So
I was at 15, right? And if I click on it, that's all.
And you got a point of constitution on that too. Nice.
Awesome. And
that's another thing to talk about here too. Is we've talked about our stats and how we want stats to be very meaningful, and players start off at character creation with 1 point in each stat, and that you have a few points to spend at character creation, but we've really driven that point home, and we've really been very mindful about making sure that stands. We want stats to be very meaningful, and it plays into a lot of different aspects of the game. But as we're starting to show more and more of the game and getting more and more of the gameplay out there, it's going to become more and more clear how each and every point of stamina, each and every point of dexterity, of constitution has a massive effect on the strength of your character.
I can't wait for the fans.
By the way, guys, I'm not really saying a whole lot right now because I'm kind of just taking it all in, and I don't want to talk over anything important that they say, but once this is done, we'll kind of recap and I'll go over it more.
WTG.
Awesome.
So shall we check out maybe some later levels as to what people can expect during the pre-Alpha 5 Shakeout weekend?
You can see the walls a little bit in the background there.
We'll be back, and when we come back, we'll be a few levels higher, a few more abilities available. We'll check out a different part of the area here, and we'll catch you guys then.
And we're back. I realize 0 seconds have passed for you guys, but it's been like 10 minutes for us. So we are back. We are now level 6. Woohoo! And
it didn't take us 10 minutes to get to level 6, though.
No, it did not. We did cheat a little bit, but so
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I grinded pretty hard there.
Yeah, that's hardcore, man.
They just watched me play. Nobody's believing that.
Truth. So what are we doing here?
I did, not you.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, it is.
All right, so
dark.
we have bumped up to level 6. You can see, David, if you want to open your inventory, we went ahead and got a little bit more of this light armor, this light leather armor for David, our shaman. You see the armor class has gone up quite a bit there, and we also have a few more abilities available to us. Ben and I are both on Dire Lords. David's on the shaman. So we're going to try our hand at a little bit higher content here and see how it goes. And we're intentionally not showing the location of this area. This is a little bit of a difficult area to find, and but we're gonna give things a roll here. So I don't think I'm gonna turn my aggro on. There we go.
Yeah, I can do that too, I think.
Cool.
Oh, I can actually. Oh yeah, Can I buff you with this grip of the shell?
Yeah.
Sweet.
That'd be great. Give me another little bit more strength.
Dang.
2 strength now, rocking 2 strength. I put my starting points into Constitution, Dex, and Stam.
I'm gonna get yelled.
Mileage may vary. That's not an endorsement. It's just what I chose to do today. Nice.
Ben, hang on, I'll buff you too. As much as it pains me.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on up.
Oops. I'm gonna get in trouble for my point and click abilities.
You don't point and click, do you?
Sometimes.
Hey, that's okay.
Do you use a Naga at all, like a Razor Naga?
No.
It's tough to get used to, but once you get used to those thumb buttons, man, it makes MMOs so much better.
Are they an official sponsor of Pantheon? Rise of the
No,
Fall?
but anybody who MMOs should know what a Naga is.
I know, but
There are
no,
other
no
brands
free
that do this,
endorsements here. No free endorsements.
Hashtag not a sponsor.
All right, let's keep our wits because we're gonna get hit right here immediately with the magician. This is a very, very different fight. So all I know to say is Ronak, make sure you stay on top of the heels, and it's not going to do any good to try and pull. I don't have a silence yet, and so he's going to just blow us up from distance if we don't close the gap. So count of 3, I'm going to run in, and we'll get rolling.
I'll watch.
Ready? Yeah, thanks, Ben. 3, 2, 1, go. Old magician, so we're dealing with stuns and roots.
Oh my goodness, you got it ad.
Nope.
We got
we
it,
got
2
that
ads.
ad.
Okay, we got a second one.
Oh, you
The
can
second one was
see
a fire
their
magician, there's
casting
no way.
bar.
Okay.
I'm like, wait, he backed off, but he backed
Oh.
off. 'cause
Oh,
killed
there he
you, and now
goes.
he's-
I mean, it wouldn't be a
he's
stream if
killing
Ronak
us.
didn't die, right?
Well, one of us is immortal, so.
Which one of you?
Oh, we're all dead.
Okay, nice.
I
Yeah,
don't
that's-
think they
that's-
were
that's
officially
tough.
in a group.
Getting a double magician at
Either.
that
I don't
choke
see a
point
group
is
window.
really tough for our level, or at least for our group size. But
Why'd you bring us there?
well, you know,
It's just like, all right, guys, here, come see this. Hold my beer. Thanks.
it's all good. That's a really, really tough, really tough spot. But it's got some good stuff in there, and it's pretty neat to get through that cave. to the
Oh,
other
okay. I
side,
must have
so
missed that part.
I'll leave it at that. Okay, so we're back, same spot. We were decimated last time, so we wanted to come back and give this a try. But instead of bumping up the levels and getting a little stronger off screen, we decided to do it all here while we were recording. So what I want David to do, we're going to set our level to 8 and come back, as it were, a few levels higher. So go ahead and do that, Dave. And then you can over your inventory, you see that your health has gone up just a little bit. And we've also, if you hover over your chest piece, we've given you 1 additional point of wisdom. So now you're got 4 wisdom instead of 3. So a little bit more mana, a little bit more spell power. And Ben and I also, we're going to set our level to 8. We'll go ahead and do that now. And I've also got, on my tunic, I added a couple points of stamina. So this is to reflect having 2 additional stamina on my character. So instead of having 2 stamina before, now I have 4 stamina. And with Ronak's buff, I've actually got, I'll just read off my stats. As a Dire Lord, I've got 2 strength, 4 stamina, 4 constitution, 1 agility, 2 dex, and then 1 in everything else. So, but my health pool has gone up from about 130 or so to now I'm at 198.
Sweet.
We're also now just 1 level below the magician instead of 3. So it's just a good opportunity to show kind of what that level difference feels like trying the same thing. So this time we're going to do it the same as we did last time. I'm going to engage the magician.
Die or?
Yep, most likely. Most likely we will. But we need to be careful not to aggro this magician over to the right. So when I go in, just hug this left wall, and we will we'll hope that the other one doesn't come by. I'm just going to wait till he hopefully wanders back to the left. You ready, Ronak? You got all your
Yep, pre-ticking you.
Yep.
There you go.
Perfect. All right, here we go.
Goes.
Job on heels. He's getting mana back.
Uh-oh.
All right, we got
What'd you
Echo. Watch it, watch it. Gonna be a heavy burst on you, David. Try to peel this off.
I'll finish
She
off
might
the other
provoke
guy.
a Phantom's target to the
Oh.
Fire Magician.
And
We can burn
there's
the other Magician down.
the death.
Almost got one down.
You got a mana? Yep.
Yeah.
We got one. Nice.
Yeah,
That's
it
good.
wasn't-
That's good.
That's
Not
tough.
bad. Not bad. We still have a pretty limited arsenal here to work with, so I'm pretty pleased with that. Those Fire Magicians are really tough. That's a very, very tough spawn right there with those two right together. But we did our best. Good job, guys. That was fun.
It's awesome.
I'm gonna release.
Cool.
And with that, I think that's all we've got to show for today. We don't want to ruin all of Pre-Alpha 5 Shakeout for our VIP pleasures. There's lots and lots for you to do. There's tons of content. In fact, you're going to want more time to play it. Remember, that's coming up on September 5th and 6th, which is next weekend. If you do not have Pre-Alpha access, there is still time to get in there. Go to PantheonMMO.com and check out the pledge packages that include Pre-Alpha access. Chris, Dave, thanks for playing today. I think we all had fun. I know I sure did, particularly the parts where we all died.
Nothing new for me.
Well, we kept you company this time, David.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
It was
Yeah,
a lot
you
of
didn't
fun.
go
As we've said it many times before, but getting the testers in, getting people in the game playing, absolutely cannot wait, and so excited about the upcoming weekend and Pre-Alpha 5 proper beyond. So onward and upward.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Take
Adios.
care. Take care, everybody.
Okay. We're just gonna mute that and come back over here and then talk about what we saw. So, of course, I'm not really surprised that that was a little on the shorter side, as it was just kind of a little bit of a preview, a little sneak peek, so to speak. But there was still a lot. There's still a lot to talk about in there because a lot has changed since we really saw in-game footage like that. It's pretty surprising in some ways. So let's just start at the beginning. The login screen is way different, and it's a lot better than it was. I don't know. I'm trying to remember if they've shown the login screen on stream before. I don't think so. I can tell you what it was though, because maybe I don't remember if it was, maybe I streamed it in the time that I streamed it, and I also saw it when I like demoed the game at PAX and stuff. It was basically just if you go to the website right now and there's that like old concept art of the group of people like coming through the portal. It was basically that. That's pretty classic piece of concept art for Pantheon from a long time ago, and it was basically just that with the old Pantheon logo and the of course login information. So now we got this much more updated piece of concept art, the brand new Pantheon logo, which I love, by the way. I love seeing the new Pantheon logo being applied to different things. And then there's the concept art of the red-haired woman whose name escapes me right now. I know that she is an important part of Pantheon lore. Oh, Goofy Warrior Guy says you saw the login screen on the old video with Jim Lee. That's what it was. Yes, that's right. Yeah, Jim Lee also showed us the old character creation screen, which we'll get to next. But anyway, the login screen, the new login screen, like I said, a lot better than it was. But the piece of concept art that they have selected for now, to me, my initial gut reaction is that like it doesn't really, I don't know, it just doesn't say like Pantheon to me a whole lot. Like I like I said, it's not awful and it's a lot better than it was, that's for sure, but it's an easy enough thing that I hope that that's not the permanent login screen, because I'm just rattling off my own opinion here. I would like to see something that's a lot more colorful and inspires a sense of adventure, I guess. And I don't really get that. I don't really necessarily get that from that piece of concept art. That's just my impression. All right, moving on. The character creation screen, on the other hand, is awesome. It looks like it's a bridge in Fairthale, is what, based on the architecture, that definitely looks like Fairthale. I think that's an awesome backdrop for the character creation screen. All the UI and everything in the character creation screen looked really, really smooth. So that was awesome to see. I like that they just literally start at the beginning. Like, this is what it would look like if you were to log into Pantheon right now and get started, create a character, get started at level 1. I know that's something that they've been wanting to do for a long time, and it was cool that we actually got to see a little bit of it. Obviously not a whole lot, but still, I think that really helps to kind of keep things feel grounded and real, where it's like you're starting at the character creation screen. That's where your adventure begins, and I think they did a good job with that. So then jumping into the zone itself, I could have swore that was Fairthale. I just kind of assumed, since that's a zone that they've been working on primarily, and as we could tell, and they told us that ahead of time that it was going to be like this, where there's still a lot of gray boxing. So there's still just kind of it's called presentation gray boxing, according to Joppa, where the landscape and the location, everything has already been laid out. The shape of everything has already been carved out, of all the the buildings and the trees and everything. It's all where it needs to be. It's just lacking the texture, obviously, so the artists will come in after and just slap the textures on them. That's just the process and where they're at in it. So I just assumed that was Fairthale, but come to find that's actually Thronefast, which is the human starting city, which we had, to my knowledge, I didn't know that they were revisiting Thronefast and revamping that. I guess I'm not entirely surprised, because they kind of pulled that on us with Amber Fate, where we didn't see Amber Fate for a long time. Then it's like, boom, it's now completely different, and we haven't seen Thronefast in a stream for a long time. So looks like they've been working on that. Aside from that, my first impressions of the UI, like you said, the loading bar and the loading screen when you're going from the character creation screen to the actually in-game, and then the UI of the character inventory and the hotbars and even the icons of the spell icons looked completely new to me. Icons of loot and items and stuff looked like those were new, and all looked really polished and good to me. So and if you can look past the gray boxing, it takes a little bit of it takes a little imagination, I think, because at first glance it might look, it might be hard to kind of get that immersion that everybody talks about, where you feel like you're in a living, breathing world, because there's a checkerboard pattern on everything, and there's still some hard edges. But if you can that's just part of the process, and like I said, all it takes is for an artist to come back on later, slap a texture on it, and then it gives it a whole different appearance. So if you can kind of see the potential, I did like how that zone was laid out, even just the little bit of it that we saw, that little town that they went into. It looks good, and the things that do have textures on it looks good. It's still a little early to tell, but yeah, it was cool. It definitely was surprising. I think though, like, while I'm on the topic, I think a question that I have, and a question that I'm sure plenty of other people have, that I wish they would have addressed, and I would like them to address at some point in the near future, is, you know, revamping a zone and stuff is great and all, but I wish they would explain why they do that a little bit more. I think that deserves a deeper explanation. Because, yeah, Husing says even just the new size of BRK on Greybox. Yeah, that's another example. Black Rose Keep was another zone that was like, you could have convinced me that it was done. Like, there was, in the stream that I did, the community stream, there was no gray boxing in Black Rose Keep, and you know, it had all the textures and it seemed playable and stuff. Now, I know in one of their developer streams, they did kind of go into a little bit more detail about that zone in particular, about why they felt the need, for one thing, to move the zone to a different part of the world, and that part makes complete sense to me. But I think this is something that a lot of people would really have a hard time understanding as far as the timeline for these events. Like, as like for Thronefast, you know, as an example, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Okay, and I'm just thinking out loud here. Like, with crowdfunding, one thing that we need to keep in mind is that crowdfunded MMO development and crowdfunded game development in general is extremely non-linear. It's not going to be nearly as linear as we would like. You know, in an ideal world, we would like for them to just, you know, start at the beginning and just make continuous progress toward a, you know, projected end goal, and it's just, you know, it's like a straight line from beginning to end. Now, unfortunately, that almost never happens. Even if you have publisher funding on day one, just game design by nature is very iterative, and you might try some things and it doesn't work, and then you need to kind of backpedal. But crowdfunded game development is a whole nother beast, and it's tricky, and there's not really a handbook for it. Nobody has really determined the best way to do it, because the tricky part with crowdfunding is that you need to be marketing your game as you go and getting people interested in it so that you can generate funds to continue development. And part of that means kind of going out of your way to polish some things up, to show people to get people excited, to show people the potential, so that they don't have to use their imagination quite so much, so that they can jump on board and then help help funding move forward, et cetera, et cetera. So I understand on that fundamental level that it's because of that. For one thing, it's going to take a lot longer, because you're not just continuously working in a forward fashion toward the end goal. Sometimes you might need to pause and maybe take an area of the world and polish it up more than you normally would at that stage, and then show it off. And it's much more of like a zigzag progression. Do you know what I mean? Because of that, and I think a lot of people forget that it's because they don't just have millions of dollars on day one. It's going to take longer. That's the very, very early days was spent just prototyping, and then we know in 2015 that almost 90% of that game was scrapped and completely overhauled to head off in a new, better direction. And that was when Java came on board, and things have been looking good ever since then. So, like I said, I understand that on a fundamental level. I think that makes complete sense. Back there, like 2015, it makes complete sense. But what I think they would do well to explain more now, like at this current time, would be is I don't think many people, really including myself, to be honest, are expecting zones like Thronefast to be completely overhauled at this stage. Like, it might be like, okay, it might need to be overhauled at some point. Like, if that was still just version 1, it might need to be overhauled. But like, why now? I think what is really the big elephant in the room. And that's because when they did the Making of the City stream, this was in 2017, like, Thronefast has been mostly complete for a long time. And they, in that Making of the City stream, you go back, that was a brilliant stream that they did. And back then there was a lot of gray boxing, but they were really going into so much detail about the future plans that they had for that zone in particular. And it's it wasn't like the level of detail that you would expect if they're like, what, this is just version 1, and we're anticipating having to redo this in the future, but this is just kind of a concept to give you an idea of what a city in Pantheon might look like. That's what I would expect for crowdfunded marketing. But it wasn't that. It was like crazy detail, which I love detail. I love attention to detail. And it's really inspiring in some ways. If you go back and watch that stream, the level of detail that they went in on Thronefast was crazy. It was like, we were, under the impression that was going to be like what it would look like at launch. And so it's like, without any explanation, and even from me, for somebody who really tries to keep a wide, perspective and try to think behind the scenes a little bit more, it seems odd for now to be a time to revamp a zone that had already had so much effort put into it. So it's like, how much of that, how much of that time, or how much of those assets and stuff are not going to be used in the new version, I guess would be the best way to put it. I wouldn't say that it's a complete waste of time, because like I said, if you do a stream and it gets people excited just about the game as a whole and brings on funding, then that's not a waste of time. That's just part of the process. But I think at the same time, it's fair for people to be at least a little confused as to like, okay, how does this process actually work? And I think they would do well to explain that in a little bit more detail. But I talked about that for a long time, so I digress. A few other things that have come to mind watching that stream, in regards to the UI. While the UI at large is beautiful, one thing that I noticed, and we were kind of talking about it in chat a little bit too, is like conning. Like, how do you con mobs? Now, I know for a fact that conning has been in the game, as far as, you know, you select a creature, you hit C, and it tells you whether that mob is aggressive towards you or not, and whether it's higher level, lower level, same level, etc., etc. So I noticed, though, that next to every player character and NPC, there was a number next to their health bar that seemed to indicate what level they were. And I'm just hoping, just on record, I'm hoping that that is a feature more for testing, to facilitate testing. Like many other things, like we talked about, you know, fall damage. Looks like fall damage was turned off. That's fine. You know, we know that fall damage will be in the game, and so the fact that it's not in this stream is not really a problem. You know, combat doesn't need to be perfectly balanced. Not all the textures need to be in. Like, this is all part of the testing process. You know, I want to reiterate, it's not going to be, you know, perfectly beautiful all the time. And I think we need to keep that in mind. But I just think it's worth mentioning real quick that I'm hoping that the little level number next to the health bars is just a feature of testing and not a permanent fixture, because I think that a big part of the mystique of a world is making it less gamified, and knowing exactly what level something is just by clicking on it makes it feel gamified. You know, if you consider something and it gives you a vague kind of impression as to how high level it is compared to you, now that's a lot more interesting. That leaves a lot more decisions open to you. Like, something could con red to you, and you know, okay, this is a lot higher level than I am. But how much higher level is it than I am? That's a big question. You know, in some cases, if it's just barely red, like if it's just barely over that threshold that makes it red, you might still be able to make it. But if it's really red, you might not have any chance. And that tension of not knowing which one it is, that's exciting. And that leads to some interesting stories where the only way to find out how red it is to engage it and maybe get your butt kicked. So, I'm in general, in other games, I'm not a fan of when it tells you exactly what level something is, because, you know, it's just not it's not information that you would know if you were actually an inhabitant of the world. You know, the whole concept of considering something is it's your general impression. You're just kind of judging it just maybe based on its appearance. But as soon as there are specific numbers involved, then that just leads to all the metagaming and stuff that kind of takes you out of the world. So that's just my little spiel on that. You know, if you've ever played, you know, tabletop like D&D or anything like that, some game groups have really hard rule where, you know, you don't tell the other members of your group exactly what your stats are. You know, rather than saying I have 9 strength and 5 dexterity, you could be like, you know, the role playing comes out where you're like, I'm really strong and somewhat dexterous, but I'm really dumb. You know what I mean? Like, when it leaves, it's not even just about role playing, whether or not you like role playing or not. When there's that aspect of vagueness, I think it makes your decisions a lot more interesting, and it just adds to the overall intrigue of the world. That's my opinion on that. I'm gonna scroll up in chat here, try to catch up on some things that I missed. Oh, Goofy Warrior Guy, I just want to say thank you for copying some of the really key points that Joppa was making over on the other stream, because there were some really interesting things in there. So for those of you that missed it, some key points that Joppa said during this stream in chat on the Visionary Realms channel. One thing, so let's see, in pre-alpha 5, the zones that will be available are Thronefast, Avendir's Pass, Silent Plains, which we have seen nothing of, Fairthale, the Merc, Isle of Infinite Storm, Blackrose Keep, Halnir Cave, and Amber Fate. That's 9 zones. That's a pretty good chunk. I think they've said that they, by alpha, they pretty much want to have roughly a whole continent worth of content available, and that seems like they are well on their way to that. So that's something that's quite a bit of content. And also, pre-alpha 5, he also said that Joppa would definitely like to see some more streams happen in pre-alpha 5, and I think that is referring to like community streams, which is when my ears perk up, because I know I've been telling you guys for a while now that I'm going to do everything in my power, which is not much, everything in my power to bring you guys into the world with me so that we can experience it together and stream as much as I can. Get those juicy beans. So I'm and the fact that Joppa says that makes me even that much a little bit more confident that that will happen at some point. Now, I think it makes sense to do that toward the end of pre-alpha 5 proper, whenever that may be. Like I said, so pre-alpha 5 Shakeout is first. That's just 2 days where they work out all the major game-breaking bugs and server stability, and really just like unfun stuff like that. Like it's necessary, but it's, that wouldn't necessarily be the most exciting thing to watch. So probably if it did happen, I would guess that would happen more toward the end of pre-alpha 5, when as many of the bugs and stuff have been worked out as possible. Oh, yeah, who's saying what about the Bard Bean? I don't know if it was really much of a bean. But yeah, there was that one NPC that had, I don't even remember, I'm forgetting exactly what his name. It was like art something, but it was a very bard sounding name for an NPC. I'm pretty convinced at this point, from what I've heard Joppa say, that bards will be in by launch. He's been confident of that for a while now. So even though it's not confirmed, it's almost kind of like the unwritten rule. Like, I feel like we all kind of know it, even though it hasn't been explicitly said. Oh, that's right. Art Bravado something song. Yeah, you're right. Something song. That was it. Oh, Joppa apparently also said, we're tuning the game to encourage the beginning of small group content around level 4 to 5, which is nice. That sounds good. We saw Ronick just kind of killing, regular newbie trash and stuff like that at first, and he had one ability, which actually we saw him scribe the ability into his book from a scroll form, which is cool. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's really a whole lot to say about that early level combat like that. Especially at this stage in testing, I don't think there are really a whole lot of conclusions can be drawn from that. There's part of me that wishes in an ideal world that even at level 1, even in a tab targeted game at level 1, combat should be a little bit more exciting than hitting auto attack and then maybe hitting your one ability. Like, I feel like that just has been done in every MMO that has ever existed. To some degree, it's unavoidable because what's more important is that you have a feeling of a sense of progression in power, and that, when you're level 50, the amount of things that you're capable of doing is so far beyond what you can do at level 1. You enter this world as nobody, nothing special. You're not a hero. You're just a regular dude. And I think that's important, that you don't feel too powerful, because that is what drives you to become more powerful. But, it should feel impactful, I guess, to say the least, even at level 1, because Jabba was talking a lot about, that first 30 minutes. I think that's probably a fair window. That's how long you have to rope somebody into your game, especially in this day and age, when there are so many other games out there vying for your attention. That window gets shorter and shorter every day, I think. Back in, the 90s and even into some of the early 2000s, that window was a lot longer because the market was a lot less saturated and people had a lot more patience to really sit down and figure out a game and give it some time, because there was just less options out there. Some people didn't really have a choice. But now, unfortunately, it's just the way things are now, that you just don't have nearly as much time to rope people into your game. And so, how do you, it's really, I don't have a good answer for it. And I think it's going to be the biggest problem that Pantheon has to overcome, is how do you rope people in and show them that this is something different. This is something that's exciting. You do that in the first 30 minutes without holding their hand or front loading all the power in a way where it detracts from the rest of the game. Do you know what I mean? So, and combat plays into that, and because just a lot of people just by nature really take combat seriously. Like, it's a big part of what you spend doing in an MMO, and people judge how combat feels very harshly. And so even at level 1, even if you only have one ability, it should feel interesting. There needs to be something that makes people go, this isn't just your average tab target MMO where you just auto attack and hit your one ability every time it comes off cooldown. It's tricky. I genuinely don't have really a good answer for that right now. But yeah, just something to keep in mind. Something I was thinking about while we were watching the combat. But like I said, at this stage, it's a little too early to, we were talking about like the global cooldown and stuff, and just level 1 in pre-alpha might be, we're only watching it for a few minutes. It's like I'm not going to make all these grand conclusions about combat just based on that, but just things that I think are worth mentioning. Goofy Warrior Guy says that you're talking about the class icons and the race icons on the character selection screen. So that's a good point too. Yeah. So from what we've seen on the website, the race icons are pretty high detail, much more developed, much more color, 3-dimensional aspects, all this sorts of stuff, and they look great. But you're right that the class icons are very like 2-dimensional, just black and white, and I'm not really sure why that is. I would love to see the class icons get another pass so that they are, look a little bit more in depth and 3D to kind of match the race icons, because you're right, there's a little bit of a disconnect there. I'm not like a huge fan of the way that the class icons are now. I love the race icons though. Oh, Art Bravado Songweaver. Yes, that was the bard's name. Or I'm assuming he's a bard, the NPC. Thanks for looking that up. Joppa said in their stream, more coming soon. We're stepping into a new era. More coming soon. Interesting. I believe it. I mean, I don't know what... I mean, I'm trying to think of what he means by like we're stepping into a new era. But I guess that we'll have to wait and find out. It's very true that we have been waiting for pre-alpha 5 for a very, very long time, and they've been hard at work for it for a long time. So I guess we should expect that the game is going to look very different. I think we already got a good taste of that tonight, that it looks completely different from last time that they've really brought us in there. And so yeah, there's going to be pretty critical turning points coming up. I think especially around alpha, that's going to be a really really critical time for the game, and it seems like they are headed straight for that. So that is exciting. I think once this gets all polished up and sent out for the world to see, and we can see how people take it, what the impressions are, from the broader audience, us, here, I'm probably most of the people here in the stream probably follow Pantheon on a regular basis and are, really invested and pay attention to the small updates and the details and stuff that they give. But we have to remember that there's a lot of people that are going to be seeing Pantheon maybe for the very first time, or maybe they haven't seen it in a long time, and they are, the last time they saw it was a long time ago, and it was very different, and they are coming in, everybody's coming into it, these different preconceived notions. And so yeah, the game's ability to convert those people based on the product of this continent that they have been working hard on for like I said, like a year and a half, almost 2 years now. It's going to be very telling. Almost, you might even say it's like a make or break point for the game. Because if it goes well, then people pile on, and it's all this momentum. I try to talk about this often when I can, where I understand when people might be concerned, where they look at the state of the game right now and think about how long the game has been in development, and might start to get a little bit discouraged. And it all does kind of go back to that thing where crowdfunded game development is just not linear. But at the same time, the thing to keep in mind is that momentum is a very real thing and is a huge factor where, you know, the devs, I think they've taken a little bit of a riskier approach recently where they've gone kind of deep underground to really polish off this continent to make it as good as it can be, so that when people do come in, they have the best first impression possible. Because if that works and people like it, then they jump in, funding increases. Theoretically, this is all in theory. This is how I look at it. Funding increases. That means that the developer team can expand. They bring in more developers. More developers means more progress, faster progress, and faster progress in turns means more excitement from the community, turns into more funding, turns into more developers, and it's kind of this, you know, self-feeding cycle in that machine. That momentum is super key. That's going to be key, and you know, if they do a good job with it and people like it, then that is going to dramatically increase the rate of development, most likely. So that's the theory, and we will see if it works out for them, and I hope it does. But for now, I'm going to head out. I thank each and every one of you for tuning in with me tonight and just to talk about Pantheon and get this nice little taste of Pre-Alpha 5. So I will let you know when the next time we're going to do something like this is. But until then, please have a good night, and thanks for watching.